Our review is going to be scheduled, it is scheduled for September 10th.
Thank you. And we will now move to the Upper Phelps County Technical School Committee, the so-called JOC. Mrs. Schmidt.
Thank you, Dr. Gurnall. The JOC met on June 19th at the Upper Bucks County Tech School. The evening actually started with a light dinner and Mr. Kennedy, correct me if I'm wrong, was it Mr. Kennedy? Who is the woodworking?
He's the cabinet maker.
Cabinet making instructor. Briefed us on their trip to Williamsburg, Virginia this year, the class. They had a project earlier this year where they removed repurposed wood out of Game and Bridge in Plumsteadville, offered tables to be made to the public. The proceeds from those tables go towards funding their future Williamsburg trip. So this one was funded through previous projects, but it was a great opportunity for these students to go down, see how the people who preceded them many, many years ago did the same type of work and see some things that they are not familiar with, but hopefully help them in their future endeavors. And then the evening started, there was an executive session. Mrs. Hill briefed us on the preliminary enrollment for 2014-2015. The school had 161 grads this year for 2014, and they have 279 new applicants interested in coming into the tech school, which is an increase in their numbers. There was committee reports on two policies. Plan Con F approval letter, which is for the construction. Construction, I believe, was hopefully set to start today.
Yes. I don't know whether it did.
We were not
Today's the
sure,
day.
but that was the plan.
And it didn't rain, so
Yes.
maybe that's good news.
Solicitor fees were approved at the meeting. 2014-2015 student handbook was approved, which I believe will be available online as well for the school. There were several textbooks that were approved that evening, obsolete equipment. The school did have their yard sale, if you would call it, that they are in the process of cleaning out classrooms, packing up in preparation for the construction. So there was a lot of equipment that they no longer need. And approximate profits from that are about $10,000 after fees will be coming out. There was out-of-state travel approved for professional development. An instructor that attends a conference in Ohio. Annual insurance policies, and that was about it. The next JOC meeting is scheduled for August 8th, I believe.
My mother's birthday.
There was a special meeting that was
First Thursday in August.
scheduled for the first Thursday in August, and then the additional one will be August 21st, 2014 at 7:30 p.m. in the JOC boardroom.
Thank you, Mr. Dent.
I'd just like to thank you for that little report on Williamsburg. There's been probably 10 groups that have gone down for 10 years, including my local grandson, who also graduated from there. But that is a tremendous experience to see how those guys could woodwork and so on, and it really does excite the students. I don't know whether they do that in other areas or not, but that one is certainly worthwhile.
They always have wonderful pictures of actually operating the more primitive, I hope I don't insult anyone by saying that, but primitive tools of the 17th, 18th century type thing,
I
right?
think you just have.
That's right, probably, right. But in any case, it's fantastic work considering what they had to work with. So it's a very interesting trip. The students at the VOTEC take every 2 years, actually. They go all 2 years. Thank you, Mrs. Smith. We'll move to technology. Mr. Thompson.
The next technology committee meeting will be scheduled as needed.
Okay, thank you. And Act 48, Mrs. Schmidt.
Thank you. The next Act 48 committee meeting will be scheduled as needed.
Okay. So now we're to unfinished business. Mrs. Johnson, I assume since you've rushed back that you have information?
I do. There should have been a memo in your board packet dated June 18th, subject purchase order memo. And what this is a request from Mr. Torado out of his technology budget. This is the transfer amount that we have listed in there as $100,000. He's requesting to spend $37,665 of that for the following items: a blade server to provide redundancy and expanded VDI at the elementary schools, a supervisor board to provide redundancy for network services, and an additional wireless control unit as well as we continue to expand the one-to-one program. We did mention that we would be adding additional infrastructure to provide for redundancy, so this is our quest and our sort of providing redundancy.
Okay, I will make a motion that we approve the information as stated in the memo, which I now have found, that I hadn't found before. Thank you for reminding us. And in the amount of $37,665. Do we have a second to that motion? Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Do we have comments or questions on the motion from board members? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. Is there any other unfinished business from board members? If not, new business, I will announce that we are forming, or have formed, an ad hoc committee that will be concerned with advertising and fundraising. Again, both Mrs. Schmidt and Mrs. Yardley have kindly consented to participating in that committee. I would like to know if there are any other board members, not that we have to have more board members, but if any want to. And certainly we would welcome participation from the public. I believe we have already had at least one volunteer to assist in that. So good luck and thank you for working on that project. Obviously that's an important project. Beyond that, we'll move to, unless someone else has, I should ask if anyone else has new business before I lose my voice. Okay, let's move on to the announcements. The next regular school board meeting is scheduled for Monday, July 28, 2014 at 7:30 here in this district administration office. There were executive sessions held on June 4th, June 10th, June 16th, June 17th, and tonight before the board meeting for purposes of negotiation and personnel. And there is an executive session also scheduled after tonight's meeting for purposes of both personnel and negotiations. At this point, we will move to comments or questions from guests. Same rules as before. Please state your name and your county residence.
Diane Herring, Hilltown Township. As a parent who has recently graduated, a student in the music program, and who has the distinct honor and privilege of being the parent to have a student who is the first one ever to be awarded a spot in the U.S. Marine Corps Band, I would like to thank Mr. Benson for his time and dedication to the students on both a group and individual level. I am going to disclose some personal information that he would not disclose tonight. My son is the one who was injured last year on the trip. My son who has MRSA. My son who could have died if he were not properly treated by the folks and the parents or the nurse. So if you're looking for injuries, that's what they account to. He won't disclose that publicly, but I will. I am also the person who paid over $5,000 out of personal medical expenses for when he became injured moving band equipment this year and had to have surgery. I am about to suggest that the district is not doing their due diligence to protect the district. Because if you do not approve that trailer and do not create a safer situation, you are putting this entire district at liability to be sued. I absorbed the expense. But if your expectation is that parents are going to stand there and load this truck and unload it, You should be demanding a hold harmless agreement from every one of them. Because they can sue us, all of us. Having lived through it, I could have done it. Would I have won? Who knows? But the legal expenses alone would have been unnecessary to the district. I hope that when it comes to July, and you discuss this again, that you have a plan in place, that you do not purchase the trailer and you do not purchase the truck, that you are going to get an indemnity from every single person you expect to participate, and make them aware that they are on their own. I think everyone in this room knows how big of a supporter I am to the band. But I ultimately want to see the district left standing because my children need an education. And not to understand the large ramifications here of the financials for what you're talking about is short-sightedness, in my opinion.
Thank you.
One thing I just want to say is that my recommendation is that the board not comment on any of that, but to the extent any board member or the board in general has questions about hold harmless agreements, what its potential exposure is, what the legal issues are that are around the truck or the trailer, and after-school activities generally, I suggest that you ask your solicitor, that's me, and I'll be happy to give you an opinion on issues that concern a particular student or a particular individual. As Ms. Herring just identified, I suggest also that's something that we discuss in executive session. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Karen Wilmore, Hilltown Township. I am the drumline parent that brought the issue up of the trailer or the truck with the gate. I brought pictures in of what I experienced at a drumline show and continue to experience at drumline shows. I know what goes on with marching band. We've been doing it for the last 4 years, and like I said before, as the band's growing, the needs change. The situation has been getting worse. It's kind of like a loose tile in the ceiling. It gets loose and gets a little more loose. Eventually you need to do something about it before it hits somebody on the head. I brought the situation to your attention because I am a taxpayer in this district, and I want my tax dollars to go to educating our students in the district. Not to be paying lawyers, not to be paying out settlements, not to be paying more in insurance because you've ignored something. I've come to these meetings for a couple of years now, and I watched the money fly out the door for expenses. We just bought another truck tonight. We bought one, I think, last month also, because the district has needs. The students of our district also have needs. That trailer gate is off the ground. All it takes is a half step back and they're off. How are each of you going to feel if one of them gets hurt and is hurt for life? Because you're arguing over $19,000. I'm sure there's a truck in the district somewhere that can have a trailer hitch slapped on the bottom of it for about $3,000 and be adequate enough to pull a band trailer around. Or maybe a van with a hitch on the bottom that could pull the band trailer around. It's ridiculous, totally ridiculous. And I hope we don't get to the point where I'm sharing my pictures with somebody that gets hurt for their lawyer to see. How would your insurance company feel if they saw those pictures? What would they be saying to you? I don't think they'd be too happy with this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. Sterling?
I'm going to change the topic. I was just doing some reading, and I came across the newspaper, I'll say a newspaper's reporting on our May 28th board meeting. And it said the board approved a contract with East Rock Hill Township for professional services and to establish a $2,500 escrow account for phase 1 of land development at Hellman Field. I had already read the minutes at East Rock Hill Township, and I went back and reviewed February's forward. And in February, it says, on motion by Mr. Natupsky, seconded by Mr. Volovnik, I'm sorry, to grant waiver of land development for phase 1, conditioned on phase 2, going through the land development process, building permit insurance, stormwater review, professional service agreement execution, and an escrow established. With no additional discussion, all present voted in favor. So I have a newspaper account that says we established an escrow account. I have minutes from East Rock Hill Township for February that says it was waived. And I looked through March, April, May, did not see where East Rock Hill Township changed its mind on that. So I decided to go to the tiebreaker, which would be our minutes for May the 28th. Now, perhaps it was at a different meeting. We've had a lot of meetings, so correct me if I'm wrong. I'll be happy to look it up. I went to page 5 and 6 of our May 28th meeting minutes, where Mr. Sarnes approved contracts. And I could not find a contract listed with East Rock Hill Township. Now, I understand that that was an addendum, and I believe we did vote on it, but it is not in our minutes officially for the May meeting. Maybe it occurred at a different meeting, but I don't understand, even if it did occur at another meeting, based on the fact that, as far as I can tell, East Rock Hill Township has never requested a contract or a phase 1 escrow account, why we would have made that move. Can somebody explain to me why we spent $2,500?
Mrs. Johnson, do you have an answer?
Yes, we actually were required by East Rock Hills Township so that we could move forward with our plans. We need to have that so they would do the review, Mr. Spatafor, that was the next.
Review and inspections.
Review and inspection of what we were doing, what we are doing here.
And
I remember the contract, I remember the board approving it. It's in the minutes dated May 28th, 2014.
Where is that?
It's in the minutes.
Bottom of page 4,
Bottom of page 4.
the last item on page 4. It's
Okay.
not under facilities, not finance.
And I would just say to the board, this board has no way of knowing when or how a township may have voted upon something or decided to do something. So I would urge the board not to speculate about what,
But they were there.
What the
They're
township-
listed in the minutes.
but I remember the contract. I remember it was passed subject to solicitor review. I remember commenting specifically about a particular provision that made the contract palatable to me.
Well, that's fine. I just couldn't find it, because I looked under finance, figuring that's where I would be able to find it, and I thought maybe it was at a different meeting. So I just wanted to make sure it did get in the minutes. I don't understand again why East Rock Hill doesn't have to have it in their minutes somewhere that they requested that of us. I think that's kind of a mix and match. So I was just curious why we would do that if we were not requested. And why wouldn't they have that in their meeting? I mean, I know you can't answer that
And again,
question.
I would just suggest that you pose that to them.
I will. But I needed to find it first in ours. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anyone else wish to comment? If not, questions from the press? Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.